Hello and welcome to On the Move. We are Matt and Betsy, and we moved to Prince Edward Island a little more than a year ago now, and now we're on an adventure to explore this beautiful province and share a little bit of it with you. Today we're going to talk about the Prince Edward Island Public Library System. But before we do, I should say we are having a gorgeous fall.
Goodness. Yes.
Aside from Hurricane Fiona, we'll just chop out that, couple of days and then the ensuing cleanup after that. But today, today we're recording this on Tuesday, the 25th of October. If you're seeing this when it's released, you're seeing it, I believe, on the 28th of October. And it was like 21 degrees today. We had nice southern winds and a little bit of humidity. It almost felt like summer.
It was a bit moody. You went sun, rain, but it was like summer showers and then the sun would come out.
It's kind of odd. We go out to walk the dog and you look back and you think you're going to see green, but no, most of the leaves are gone from the trees. And it's kind of odd.
But the fields are green. I noticed that when I looked out this morning. So things like winter wheat are starting to come up already.
Yeah, are thriving at the moment.
Yeah, so it looks green out there. Anyway, wouldn't be a Canadian podcast without a bit of a weather update. So that's what's been happening. Libraries.
You should know. Well, I was just going to segue into that to say that you should know that we have some avid readers in our family. And I am not one of them, actually.
I was going to say, I can't believe that we missed this. How could we not have talked about the libraries at this point? Since that was actually like a research point for me in our move, was just finding out where closest libraries would be, what kind of access we would have to them. And that was actually like a key element in some of my location choices. So I can't believe it's taken us this long.
Yeah, we frequent the library because we don't live, there isn't one, around the corner from us. We do have to drive to it. It's probably every couple of weeks that we're at the library.
So I think some of that comes down to, just to give a bit of like library history in our life. So I would be the avid reader out of the two of us, and our oldest has definitely become an avid reader, and our youngest is picking it up a bit too. So that's great. It's a wonderful pastime, a wonderful way to amuse yourself, and a wonderful way to learn a lot. Anyway, I won't try and push reading here, but we do love it. So I started reading to them when they were very young. I actually quite enjoy reading out loud. And so I did a lot of dramatic reading with them. So we would go to the library in London, which was just around the corner from
London,
us.
Ontario, that is.
I think that's right. Good point. We should clarify that. London, Ontario. So they had put up a brand new one, shortly after we moved into our last neighborhood.
Particular home.
So actually the home before that, we were within walking distance to the library. So when our oldest was a toddler, we did all the baby classes at the library, and I hauled my big red wagon down to the library with all of my daycare kids, and we would do all of the story time and song time, and just loved it.
The big red wagon, I should say, it really is a big, people's heads turn when they see this thing. It's got these massive all-terrain tires on it. I think it...
Oh, you're going to have to go and take a picture now.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. It takes a load of over 500 pounds on this thing. It is built to last.
So I would pack 5 kids in there, kind of back to knees to back to knees. Those who could run would run, and they could go to get their exercise, and then when they were tired out, they'd all fit in this big red wagon. So it was fantastic for my daycare. Yeah. So anyway, we would do that I would do that with the daycare kids, and then we moved to our next neighborhood, and it was still walkable, but definitely more of a hike.
Yes.
So then going to the library became kind of the entire outing for the day if we were going to do that. So I did not do it as often with my big red wagon because I would get pretty tired hauling that thing back home. But anyway, at that point in that neighborhood, it was built in with a great big brand new YMCA. So the Y was there, the arena was there, the library was all in this same area. Yeah. And again, we frequented it at that point probably weekly because the books I were getting were the illustrated children's books. So we burned through those. Yeah,
we had some of the kids who stayed with us, we would read to them every night. So we needed a minimum of 7 books, to get us through the week with these guys.
I mean, sometimes they'd want repeats, but Matthew and I would get tired of reading the same things over. I did that with my girls. I read things to the point where I had them memorized. Gillian Jiggs was big in our life. Fancy Nancy was big in our life. Curious George, we did a lot of. And then we have a few like kind of random ones that we picked up at library sales. Sometimes libraries will purge some of their selection that aren't being signed out anymore. So we picked up a few from there. So some of our favorites, a unique one, I don't even know if you could find it anywhere, is called The Seven Silly Eaters. Yep. Lucinda still treasures that one and hangs on to it pretty tightly. Pinkalicious was another one. Oh, yes. Anyway, there's tons of storybooks I could go through that were part of our childhood.
At different points in your life, you've collected illustrated children's books.
Yeah.
So you
even
really
some were like, I can think of a time that we were at Chapters out on a date, you and I, and we picked up a book and we were standing there in the aisle reading it together, just giggling and laughing. And so I think we bought that book for you, which is
the book without pictures.
The book without
B.J. Novak.
Yes, the book without pictures.
Yeah, or something close to that.
Yeah. So it's cute. Anyway, all of that to say, we love books.
Yes, and so libraries are important.
So once we got to Prince Edward Island, we needed to figure out what was out there and what was close.
Yeah, one of our first stops actually. So our closest library is in Montague. It's a small library, we could say. But we stopped there and made sure we got all the information and ourselves ready to get our library cards. So of course, once you have an address here and proof of residence, you can get yourself library cards, and I think they give you an option of like a couple of different pictures that you can have on it. Mine has a lighthouse.
I have a fox.
On yours.
Anytime I get the choice, I have a fox.
And the girls get their own library cards, of course, too. So we were set up to go with that right away. There are 25 libraries right across the island. We're talking from like Tignish, way up in the west, to all the way over here, and then I think over to Surrey as well. Some of them are their own standalone things. I know, for example, in Georgetown, it's integrated into the public school there as well, which is kind of neat. I didn't realize that. There too. And then some other interesting facts about it. There are no late fees either.
Which I think is becoming common across several provinces.
Yeah. I guess we grew up with it being a common thing, so it's a new thing for us.
I think the idea behind that I read a bit about when it first started happening is they don't want to make libraries inaccessible to anyone. The idea of a public library is to provide books and literature to everyone. And so they don't want that to be a deterrent for people to sign out books. And I'm guessing that they have discovered that there is not enough book theft to make it a problem, but I really don't know.
We've debated a few times the benefits and drawbacks. I think they're just academic exercises, for us. We appreciate the library, so we'll continue to frequent it, and we try to be responsible with it.
Yes, and we try to be responsible with our due dates too. There's still due dates on items, but you can often renew online. Sometimes you can't if something is on hold for someone else and it needs to be returned, which I respect because we use those hold lists. Which I was going to explain too. So even though you might have your one local library, the whole system is connected. So you can go online and you can order a hold that will be then brought to your location for pickup at your local location.
And then you can also return to any of the branches across the island too. Like if I'm going into Charlottetown for something, I could drop off at the Stratford location or at one of the locations in Charlottetown there as well.
So something that we found that was exciting, we haven't actually made use of it, but I thought it was pretty darn neat, that we did not find when we were in London, was they have an instrument loaning system that we've seen. I've also seen like some different exercise and sports equipment that you can loan as well. So just some additional items as part of their library that we did not see in the London system. So that was pretty cool.
Some other things that may be common to you or not, you can also loan puzzles and games. Our girls sometimes will pick up games, either ones that we know or ones that we don't, and we have to learn.
Forbidden Island is one of our favorite to grab from the library.
We've grabbed that a couple of times, And then, of course, you can get audiobooks and CDs if you still use that technology. DVDs as well.
I'm assuming that's going to get phased out probably soon.
Probably. And there is a virtual catalog that you can use too. I actually have an app on my phone that can link into the PEI system, so I can loan audiobooks, and I don't really like to read books on my phone, but you could do that as well.
Well, you were going to say you're not a physical book person, like sit down and read physical books. However, you used the audiobooks plenty when you were driving back and forth to Muskogee, and you love recipe books. That's your go-to section.
Yeah,
when you go to the library.
I go to the baking and the cooking section.
Yeah.
That, and I pick up a few autobiographies here.
Yeah. So Matthew hits those sections. Our girls have been into the teen sections lately. Used to be the children's. They've shifted into the teens, which both have taken note. Does seem to be kind of the smallest section in the library, which I was explaining to them. It's one of the shortest lived times of life. It's really only a few years long. So yeah, there aren't a ton of young adult books compared to how many picture books you might have and how many adult chapter books, fiction, nonfiction, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah. So our most recent adventure in the way of libraries, I'm going to have to look up exactly when they built it and finished it, but there is a new library in Charlottetown where you can go and find all these amenities and more, actually, as well. It's very nice and fancy. We took some pictures and things. We'll show them here now.
It's on in the Dominion building on Queen Street, so right downtown.
Yeah.
Beautiful new facility. So they have like the actual library in there, obviously the books and the book section, and then they have a couple different like seating areas outside of the book area.
And then they have these little conference rooms too, like some big ones, and then there's these like small kind of pod-like ones too that are circular and they all have their own names and things to them as well.
There's a cafe right in it.
A little coffee shop.
Serving lots of, I think it was Vietnamese
sort of
specialties.
Yeah. You can get your standard coffees too, but they have some special Vietnamese coffees too. I'm not a coffee drinker. So
I had my coffee that day, so I didn't try one when we were down there, but I was reading the list, and there was definitely some interesting and unique looking things there. So someday.
Yeah, and it's when you look out front of it too, it's, as Betsy said, right downtown. So there's some lovely shops there too. It was the Scarecrow Festival going on while we were there, and the next day was going to be Farm Day in the city, which was a big day too. So I think it's really has become a hub for activity down there, and I think they did that on purpose. Yeah.
I think I've heard in some of the circles I've heard them talked about as the third space. So basically meaning a gathering space where you are not required to spend money to be there. There's not a whole lot of those locations in communities, and I think there are groups of folks who are working to try to build some more of those kind of spaces, places where you are encouraged to loiter and not expected to spend money in order to do so. Yeah. So I think they've done a wonderful job setting this up for that. We saw lots of what I'm guessing were probably university-age students in there working away on their computers.
Yeah, because of course you can get Wi-Fi and internet access on either computers, or you can bring your own device with you too. And we saw families in there too. Yeah.
And what I appreciated about it was bright, it was well lit, there was lots of windows. So my library in my hometown of Elmira was a gorgeous old building, but it was built in a time when, things were not as light and window and open concept idea. So I remember going in there as a kid and loving it and going into the children's section, but it's like a dark kind of little corner where I'd look through the picture books. So I just appreciated how bright and well lit this whole environment was.
Mm-hmm. So overall, what would we say? We're fairly pleased with the PEI library system?
Yeah.
I think for the fact that we are a small population on the island, I think we've got some pretty fantastic services for that.
I should look into it further. I thought I read at some point as well that if needed, they will actually connect in or link into the Halifax.
Yeah, I think you can special request materials that come from the Nova Scotia system too.
So that definitely something to look into if there's something very particular that you're after, or maybe a more considered academic piece of writing that you're after. Would be worth looking into.
Mm-hmm. So if you're a reader, then we encourage you either maybe stop by your own library this week, and when you're on the island, don't be afraid to pop into one of the public libraries. We certainly will do so more ourselves, and we hope that you're having a great time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.